Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. We start our video with a story about a rude customer that our OP encountered on the job. I like this because she deserves what she got in the end. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Enjoy all the late fees. Back when I was younger, I worked at one of the large movie rental chains. Not the block-breaking one, but the other one. Anyways, I was working the front register, ringing up people's rentals and giving people on their way in suggestions on which good films are currently available. That's when Crazy Lady walks in and tosses her returns into the return bin. To give you some insight, the rental return is directly behind the registers and guests will place their returns there as they walk in. Whenever I have a free moment, myself or one of my coworkers will go through and check in all the rental returns. As I was the only one in the store at the time, the return pile can get pretty high before I have a free moment to get to you. Anyways, back to the main story. Crazy Lady has selected her terrible choice in films and is next in line. She hands me her choices, I ask for her rental card, which she hands me, and I pull up her account immediately. A red flag notice pops up on her account. Me. I'm sorry, it appears you still have some rentals out and have reached your maximum level of rentals. I won't be able to rent these out to you until they're returned. Crazy Lady. Are you effing kidding me? I just dropped them into the return bin on my way in. Is your machine broken or are you blind? Me. Oh, no worries. I'll just override the flag on your account and check in the rentals as soon as I can. This happens all the time. It's not a big deal. I always just override the flag and check in the rentals when I have a free moment. But no, she decided to make it a big effing deal. Crazy Lady. No, you guys always accuse me of having rentals out. I want to watch you scan them in right now so I know you guys are doing your job correctly. Me. Sure thing, just one moment. I go to the rental bin and proceed to pull out every single rental that is piled up, maybe about 50 DVDs at this point. I pull out one by one and begin to scan them in. And not at my usual speed, but at nice leisurely pace. Crazy Lady. I didn't rent all of those films. I rented 4 random titles. Can't you just scan those? I don't have all day. Me. It looks like there are multiple copies of those rentals in the bin, and since I have no way of knowing who rented what, I have to check them all in. This is true. Crazy Lady. This is ridiculous. I have places to be. Me. I just want to make sure I do my job correctly, ma'am. After about 7 or 8 minutes of her standing there and me scanning the rentals, I finished. Crazy Lady. Finally. Now please hurry up with my rentals. I scan her rentals and, another red flag pops up. Me. I'm sorry, ma'am, but it appears you have a late fee. I'm unable to rent you any more films until the balance is paid off. I can override this too, but F her. Plus, I'm not technically supposed to, but I usually do, and people just pay up next time. Her films were over a week late, which means her late fees will be about 2 rental periods on multiple movies, so it was about $50 just in late fees, which probably cost more than buying the actual films. Crazy Lady. This is effing ridiculous. Can't you just override the late fees? Me. That wouldn't be doing my job correctly, would it? She got super pissed and left without saying a word. She sent her husband in a minute later, who came in and told me I was rude. I just smiled and said, have a great day. Anyways, I got fired a couple months later for clearing all my friends' late fees. Good times. And our second story. No phone calls when on the train? You got it. This didn't happen to me, but a coworker, whom we'll call Alex. We work for a chain of English language schools in Japan. And if you're a sub, you're likely to be dispatched in many different directions to various schools. One day, Alex was riding the train when he received an international call from his family. The call lasted only a moment, but he didn't realize there was a student on the same train who recognized him and was offended by the conversation. It's not illegal to talk on your phones while on trains, but it's considered bad form and a faux pas. Anyway, the student complained to school staff, without saying anything to Alex himself, and word eventually made its way back to personnel at HQ. Now, the personnel coordinator at the time was a jerk, and he decided to flex his managerial muscles. Rather than sending a simple email asking Alex to refrain from using the phone, he called Alex in on his day off, talked to him for a great deal longer than was necessary, and made Alex write 2 statements. One, a letter to the unknown student apologizing for the incident, and a promise that would go into his personnel file saying he'd never answer his phone on the train again. Fast forward a couple months, and Alex, working as a substitute teacher, takes the train to his base school where he'd be stationed in case of emergencies. The train arrives and he steps aboard, but then gets a call. Caller ID shows it's personnel, and the only reason they'd call it this time is if an emergency arose, and he needs to get to another school ASAP. Alex ignores the call and enjoys the 40-minute train ride to his base school while on the clock with a nap. When he gets off the train, he calls back personnel who's livid and demands to know why he wasn't answering his phone. "Why, Mr. Coordinator, you told me to never answer my phone on the train, and I would never think of contradicting you. You made me promise after all," Alex says. There's an angry silence and a gnashing of teeth on the other end of the call, with the coordinator probably holding back an angry tirade. "Just get to the damn train and get back here. We need you at another school location," he says, and hangs up. This was 40 minutes back the way Alex came from, plus a good 20 minutes further. Alex shrugged and grabbed the next returning train, where I like to imagine he enjoyed another good nap, while still on the company clock. I hope he wrote both letters in English with lots of idiom. And our last story. Crazy old lady lets herself into my home. Crazy old lady was our next-door neighbor who made everyone miserable by trying to tell people what to do, sticking her nose in business that had nothing to do with her, and being extremely entitled. Let's call her Hilda. Her adult children were equally terrible. Hilda used to work in local government before she retired. This is probably where she developed her sense of entitlement from. She felt she could tell everyone what color to paint their homes and even what flowers to plant. If she didn't approve, she would tell you that you couldn't do it. That's where my late mom comes in. My mom was a tenants rep, an elected volunteer person who represents people in social housing. She was one of the best and fought hard for people to have the right to live in safe, clean, and affordable social housing. Because of this, people would come to her asking if things Hilda were saying about their hedges being too tall or not being able to keep chickens in the garden were true. Yep, we have a neighbor with chickens. And my mom would always let them know what Hilda was saying was a lie. Because of this, Hilda felt really bitter towards my mom and hated the fact that she was so well loved. Then after I came back home, my mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer. She became extremely ill and was in and out of the hospital constantly for 8 months. Instead of showing compassion, Hilda set about telling people Mom had a drinking problem and her liver was failing. Because of this, we completely refused to talk to her ever again, and our neighbors refused to discuss my mom with her. It drove Hilda mad that she couldn't find out what was going on. Hilda had to know everything. She would listen at her window if we were outside talking. She would ask neighbors about us who told her to shove off, but the biggest insult was she would open our mail. In the UK, if you're out when the postie arrives and they can't get the mail in the letterbox, it's common for them to take it next door and leave you a slip saying so. I was receiving packages for work stuff and also ordering mobility aids so Mom could get about better. A lot of the time we were at the hospital, so Hilda would take them. We noticed when we finally got them that the tape had been taken off and replaced quite often. Hilda had also gotten into the habit of trying to stop the postie and get our letters for us. This behavior carried on even after my mom had sadly passed. I have no idea why she continued. Perhaps she thought we were hiding something from her, so in an attempt to stop her, I went onto the post office website and found that I could register a safe space or a neighbor to leave mail with and ask them not to give her our mail anymore. This drove her nuts. The postman and women refused point blank to hand anything over to her. She no longer had access to our privacy. Then came December. During this time, there are a lot of temporary staff, and this guy clearly didn't know that Hilda was out of bounds, so while I was out with the dog, my dad wasn't feeling too good, so he went to bed for a nap and slept through the knocking of Tempy McTemperson. Hilda shoots out and offers to take the package. Sure enough, he hands it over and posts a slip through the letterbox telling us where it was. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that she opened this parcel too, and that was the end. Nope. Grumpy Dad hears noises coming from downstairs and thinks I've come home. He comes down the stairs and sees a big parcel on the table and goes to the kitchen to offer me a cup of tea. Instead of seeing me, he sees Hilda going through our kitchen cupboards and clutching in her hand a couple of our bills from the drawer. Dad: "What the F are you doing?" Hilda: "Oh, hello, Grumpy Dad. I brought around your parcel." Dad: "Why are you in my kitchen?" Hilda: "Oh, I just thought as it's December that the parcel might be an important present for OP. It was something for the dog. I know you all wanted to know. I thought you might need it quickly, so I checked your front door and then your back, and the back door was unlocked, so better to have it indoors in case it rains." Dad: "And then you decided to make a snack and amuse yourself by reading my water bill? What the F is wrong with you?" Hilda drops everything and suddenly starts behaving confused. Hilda: "Oh, where am I? This isn't my kitchen. I don't know where I am." And the Oscar for Best Actress. Dad, with a rage of 1,000 suns: "Get out!" Hilda runs for it, and Dad calls me, telling me to get my butt back home. After calming him down and convincing him not to go and kick her door down, I contacted the police, who were not all that helpful. Hilda basically gives them the confused old lady routine, telling them she mistook our house for hers, and that was that. She got another caution, groan, and I started locking the doors even when someone was home. I'd love to say she stayed away from then, but years later, in another incident, she received a letter. She'd been reported for antisocial behavior by someone and decided it was us. I found her in our garden with a screwdriver. She pulled her confused act and I walked her back to her house. Our neighbor, Gina's kid, then informed us that she saw Hilda using it on the back door like a little crappy crowbar. I hope everyone out there who has to deal with idiotic and selfish human beings know that you are amazing people who deserve good things and maybe even a puppy. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.